All right. Welcome back to the Two Nerds Rant podcast. Super interesting podcast that a lot of people listen to.
All
Um,
9 of you.
all the time. All the time.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, so today we have a somewhat interesting topic that's, in light of our other super, really kind of interesting topics. This time we want to talk about just the general state of
Of
multiplayer
gaming.
gaming and the lack of skill gaps thereof. Because just the more and more that we played, and just the more, not even just that we play, just that everyone plays, and the more that the gaming industry evolves, it seems like developers are just getting more and more scared of creating a skill gap as and it's not even with multiplayer games. Is like
In
it's with
gaming in
single,
general.
just as gaming in general. It's just gaming's not difficult anymore, and I guess it's just more apparent in multiplayer games, but just in general, it seems like companies are terrified of creating skill gaps.
It's like, and those who have are actually doing very well for the fact that they made them.
Yeah, and I was talking to Wyatt this morning. He's like, I don't know when we made this switch. I don't know when the switch was flipped, but it seems like we went from really demanding very skill-based multiplayer games, like Halo 2, the original Counter-Strike, Team Fortress, all these pretty much every fighting game pre-2007. It seems that it had a skill gap. There was a skill gap somewhere. You had to know what you were doing. You had to know the mechanics. You had to learn the game. If you wanted to be good at the game, you had to learn the game. But now there's a whole bunch of just dumb casual mechanics that are being shoved into all multiplayer games now, and it's not only does it destroy the skill gap, but it makes it not fun. It makes it feel like you don't want to get better at the game because it doesn't matter how good you get, because how well you perform is no longer based off of your own performance.
Yeah, and then on top of that, it's like we found this out in terms of this morning when we tried to play a multiplayer game of Gears. I didn't even get through the match because it the issue I had with it is the team we were playing was completely just bad mannered. They didn't actually play the game the way the game was meant to play. They sat in a corner, they got the power
Yeah,
weapons, and they just waited.
we were
While in
playing
reality,
Gears of War 4 game of team deathmatch against a team that was just camping the spawn. The entire game they would spawn and they would just sit in the spawn
and
and
then wait for you to get to them, and then
bottleneck us.
mhm.
Which if you've played Gears 4 or Gears 3, you know that TDM in Gears of War is a joke. Um,
If you've watched any of the other moments, either be on Joe from Seattle or if you heard anything about our other rants, we always badmouth TDM.
because it's garbage. It's
Exactly.
garbage. Team deathmatch in any multiplayer shooter is garbage, but especially so in Gears of War because of the way the mechanics are in that game. But it just highlighted something that was so wrong. It's just the fact that it's that easy to do something. If you spawn in and just don't leave the spawn, you can literally just sit there and bottleneck the team and you win. There's a single dominant strategy in Gears of War Team Deathmatch. There's a single dominant strategy that wins every single time. And we were playing against a team of 5 that were obviously coordinating with
And
each other and
in
making
cahoots.
sure no one broke that dominant strategy. And it was the most cancerous thing I've seen in video games in a long time.
It's like you were saying,
And
what the top of your team when I left, the top of the player when I was still playing with you was
yeah,
what, 29-8,
yeah, no,
and
we
somehow
had
you
someone
guys
on
were
our team
still
who was
losing.
killing it. He was like 30-5 or something. And then every single person on the enemy team was either going even or negative, and they still won because they were just abusing this one dominant strategy. And it's also something that I'm becoming more and more aware of, uh, playing COD World War II ever since shipment was added, because of the way that the spawns are and because of the way that the weapons are in COD World War II as compared to COD 4. Um, you almost always see in shipment on COD World War II someone just sitting in the spawn with an LMG shooting at
laying
the
th-
spawns
laying people out.
and just getting multi kills. And there's so many videos of it, and people are tweeting Sledgehammer like crazy. Like, how the fuck did you not see this? Like, why is this not patched out already? And it's just one of those things where it's like, in so many multiplayer games, there is a single dominant strategy that is all from what I can tell, the only reason that those dominant strategies are not patched out is to protect the egos of casual players.
Mm-hmm.
And it's my same problem with Rifle Bloom and Fortnite. I love Fortnite Battle Royale. I think it's a solid game.
Drink
But
the Kool-Aid.
I can't stand the Rifle Bloom. There's a reason why when you play Fortnite, people avoid mid-range fights like the fucking plague, because they are complete RNG. Because Epic has this weird fascination with Rifle Bloom instead of just standard ADS mechanics like every other fucking shooter on the planet. And it's a mechanic that they're not going to take out because it's simply there to protect the egos of casual players. They want to reduce the skill gap as much as possible in a game that's supposed to be competitive. And that's why it almost always devolves into either sniper battles or shotgun battles, because those are the two guns where you can actually control your shots. And even then, there's a whole bunch of problems that I have with the shotgun physics in Fortnite, but that's just another nitpick. Just the point is, almost all of the popular multiplayer shooters, and even multiplayer fighting games, I'll get into those a little later though, but it seems like almost all multiplayer games in general are making active efforts to get rid of all skill gaps. And it's ridiculous, because that's
and,
the whole point of multiplayer games.
and it's like they do it solely because they feel the game won't sell well if it's not casual. While, like, for me, I play the snot out of League. League is my jam right now, and I have a very, very strong love-hate relationship. One, because it's easy to pick up, and two, because there is a skill gap. There are so many moments in a game of League where I have to get better at it and learn how to do something, and I can misplay, and it's like the ranking system, I feel it's flawed to some extent, but it's also incredibly fair, but not in terms of ranking, but in terms of the mechanics. There's a lot laying on one single player. You can outplay somebody, and by outplaying someone, you can win. But then at the same time, it's not like to the point where the mechanic about that is easy to pick up. It's something that has to be kind of engraved in your head. You have to learn it. You have to hone on it. You can't just go and say, well, I got lucky because RNG. It's like there are counters. There are all these different factors. And on top of that, maybe you just have a better shot calling situation. You're like, I shouldn't do this because by doing this, it ends up being bad on my end.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like not a lot of games actually support that kind of mentality. Instead, you see Gears 4. Gears 4 is the most casual thing ever. We had such an issue when it came to the kill trading because obviously all the casual players were so upset that these kill trades were not happening. And then it got to the point where when Joe and I were playing, we would get so upset because it was like there were times where you don't even think that they get a shot off, but you both get jibbed, and then it loses this entire mentality of skill, because it's like I could outshoot you in a game of Nashers, but then
for people who don't play Gears 4, kill trades happen usually when you have two people going like having a one-on-one fight with shotguns. Kill trades happen from time to time. You know, you both fire a shot at the same time, you both die at the same time, whatever. Like that happens in pretty much any shooter. But there was a period of Gears 4 where the devs specifically wanted to make the game as casual friendly as possible. So they made a conscious effort to make that window of kill trading as wide as possible. And it was fucking cancer. Because literally you could run up to someone, fire the shotgun a couple times, and get a kill trade. It made using a shotgun free kills. And it was disgusting because I would be recording matches and I would watch them back. I would fire a shot, kill someone, and then sometimes even 20 to 30 frames later just fall over dead because there was a kill trade that hadn't processed yet. And it was so stupid. And if you went on the Gears subreddit, everyone was complaining about it. Like, guys, what the fuck are you doing over there? And that like the coalition is just actively trying to make Gears of War as casual friendly as possible, which is
When in
so
reality,
stupid because
yeah, and
the
it's like
whole
the
reason I
original.
fell in love with Gears was because it is a fucking hard game. That's the whole point of it being a third person cover shooter with super fast mechanics and really deadly shotguns and power weapons and like arena mechanics. It's so stupid. I hate it because the whole reason I fell in love with Gears in the first place is because it's not like other casual shooters. You have to get better at it. And now the coalition is just trying to go back on that and make the game super casual. It's ridiculous.
It's like there's so many games now too. It's like League is a casual game to some extent. You can have fun with it. You can goof off and whatnot else, but you need to have people who also are in the mood to make it casual. But then there's also this entire other tier of ranked. So it's like it caters to both. It's like Riot Games, even though they only have one game and not sometimes people talk smack about them, they are not afraid to go and say, you know what? Here's something for a little bit on the high end side, and here's something that's just a little more casual. Because both are important to us, because both enjoy our game, and both can pick it up and both can enjoy. Gears wasn't that way by any means. Gears was a very intensive multiplayer game, and I loved it for it too. And now with everything, like Joe said, it's becoming this absolute cesspool of people who like think they're so much better than everybody else because they're trying to do casual gaming. But in reality, it's like I don't want to do casual. I want to make it mean something, but by trying to make it mean something to me, that means there needs to be this skill gap. I need to be able to get better, but instead of letting the skill gap stay and grow and be a thing, they go and say, you know what, pull the weed, get rid of it, don't even have that be a mechanic anymore because everyone's complaining about it. And it's like, why can't there be both? Why can't a game be also casual as well as competitive? It's like, there are games that do this, and they do this well. Overwatch is one of them. Overwatch is one of those games where it's like, you can be incredibly casual with Overwatch. But it's like, but at the same time, there's also that layer of depth in Overwatch where you can coordinate with your team to do stuff. There are combos. There are ways to actually, I wouldn't necessarily say abuse the system, because honestly, no one really knows the system at all yet, because it's still kind of new. But it's like, but there are these higher levels of gaming for certain games.
Yeah, I mean, I have my own gripes with Overwatch.
For sure. And
but...
there's there, but it's like the entire idea of a game like that, it's like you can play it casually and have fun, and you can also play it competitively and make it a little more serious. But when Gears is trying to make all of this stuff fuse together, and then they go and say, but wait, there's an actual competitive playlist. You're like, but then why are all of these things making it so when I don't play competitive, it's an absolute trash fire?
Yeah, Gears has gotten to the point that if you don't play in the ranked playlist and you don't play in the competitive playlist, it's just not fun. Because of the active efforts that the Coalition has made to make the casual playlist, like the core game modes, as noob friendly as possible.
Yeah.
And they've reserved what Gears was supposed to be to a single ranked playlist with 2 game modes, and it's stupid.
And it's like, why couldn't
and it's the same thing that's happened with Halo, honestly. Mm-hmm. Halo has gotten so fucking easy. I hate it. Halo 5 is the easiest fucking game. And I was watching Ninja's stream last night. Do you know who Ninja is? I don't know if you follow him.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I've seen him a few times.
Yeah, because he started as a pro Halo player back in the Reach days. And I was watching his stream last night, and he was just going on a whole rant about how shitty Halo is now. And I was just like, this is the greatest thing ever. Because Halo was initially designed to be a very competitive and very casual, easy-to-pick-up game. It was a game with very simple, straightforward mechanics, but still took a lot of getting used to. And the gunplay and the movement and the jumping and everything was made very specifically so that if you got into a gunfight, you had to outplay the other person. Halo 2, Halo 3, even Reach to a certain extent, although the armor ability is kind of fucked with it. Halo has always been a game with a very straightforward you versus them kind of approach. But the problem with Halo 4 and Halo 5 is that it's almost like the Halo has become so non-confrontational in the combat. At any given time in Halo 5, you have a get out of jail free card with the sprint and with the armor abilities. If someone starts shooting at you, you can just run away. And if you have an open shot on someone, you can just kill them immediately because the time to kill is so short now. And when compared to other games like Halo 2 and Halo 3, if someone was shooting at you, you had to turn and face them. You couldn't run away. And that was an intentional thing. And if you had an open shot on someone and you didn't have a sniper, you had to prepare yourself to get into a gunfight because the time to kill was very long. And that was so there were actual gunfights. And it wasn't just this dumb Call of Duty 3 to 4 shot kill stuff that you see in like every multiplayer shooter now. Because God forbid we have actual gunfights in a shooter.
Yeah, you actually have to outplay and outmaneuver and outthink somebody. No. Just take the OP gun, take 2 shots, you win. Congratulations, pat you on the head.
Yeah, that's one reason why Fortnite frustrates me so much, is because it has like everything is there to make that game so good and so competitive, but there's just a few things that are bugging the hell out of me. And it's the rifle bloom, and it's also that like I said, like the fact that like I don't know what point I'm trying to make, but it's mainly just the rifle bloom and just these like really small casual mechanics sprinkled in to make sure that the free to play people keep on playing as long as possible.
And that's one reason I won't ever get into Fortnite. Too much casual. Like, and I'm all for casual play sometimes, but I'm gonna now take this and go into the element of casual meeting the dreaded esports scene, because you know this was gonna come.
Yeah, this is it's so confusing to me. That link is so confusing to me. It's like let's make everything as casual as possible so everyone can play it and everyone can be a winner. But then esports, it's like, what are you guys doing? Exactly. Like Gears and Halo have both casualized themselves so hard now that they're not difficult, they're not competitive, and they're not skill-based anymore. And yet, at the same time, both of those franchises are pushing their own esports so hard. It's like, guys, you can't have it both ways. You have to pick a side.
Mm-hmm. And it's like I'll draw it back to League, and then you can also draw it back to like any other game too, because it's like when a game has an esports scene, everybody wants to go pro. Everybody thinks they have it. Everybody thinks that they are the most amazing thing in the game, and you have to listen to them. And if you don't, you ruin it all. And with League, it's the same thing. It's like you play a game. I'm not even that good at the game. I enjoy it. I have moments where I do really well. I have moments where I just get completely dominated. It happens. But at the same time, there's that skill gap that makes me go and say, you know what? If I keep playing, I can get better. If I can get better, maybe I can get further. And if I can get further, cool. But then you get these people who are like just stuck in the lowest of the low, but they think that the lowest of the low is actually the highest of the high, and they're only there to tell you how bad you are and how good they are, when really you're both just bad.
Yeah, that's one of my gripes with Overwatch that I was talking about. That's part of why I stopped playing Overwatch. Is like, as soon as the Overwatch World League opened, is it Overwatch League or is Overwatch World League? OWL, whatever OWL League stands for. As soon as Overwatch OWL League launched, the Overwatch scene got cancerous as hell, and I had to stop playing because it was so goddamn annoying. Like,
everybody thought that they were the ones that were gonna go pro.
Exactly. As soon as esports starts getting pushed, and as soon as esports in a certain game starts being pushed at you over and over again, the community will get cancerous as fuck, because the competitive people just eat each other, and there's no room for teaching people. There's no room for finding people to help get you up to the top, because if you're in the top, then someone else can't be in the top, and it's
being them.
It's so stupid. I hate it so much. And this is all coming from someone who loves esports. I love esports so much.
It's fun to watch. It's fun to watch the pros. It's like watching pro play at any game. You're just like, you sit there and you're like, I never knew you could do such a thing. And you're like, it makes you want to play the game.
Exactly. I love esports so much, but I fucking hate the kind of player base that it breeds when a game starts pushing its own esports so much. And it's, I feel like the two games that have fallen victim to that the most are Call of Duty and Counter-Strike.
Oh yeah.
The two Probably the two most cancerous communities of all video games. And surprise, surprise, they're both top esports. Surprise, surprise, they both push their own esports like crazy. You know?
Yeah, and it's like in League, it's the same way. It's there's everyone's just toxic because they think that they're the ones that need to be better than everybody else. But instead of looking at it and saying like, I can get better, they just say, no, you're the one who needs to get better. I'm fine. I've had moments when I play and I'm just like, I'm doing terrible. It's a bad game. But nobody believes in a bad game. They just think that there's a bad player.
Exactly. There's so many
They
people
don't,
that don't believe that they can make mistakes. It's
and
so
it's like,
stupid.
and it's like, so you mean to tell me that if I'm the one getting, 3-man, 4-man, it's like that it's on me? Sorry that they see me as a threat because I'm better than you.
Yeah.
And it's like, I love it and I hate it, and it's such an awkward blend because it's like it's so much fun to play, and it's like by watching pros, it's like the pros make it look so much fun because it's like they actually know what to do, and they will
Yeah.
help. It's like if you watch any pro stream for any game, people will sub and they ask questions, and the pros actually tell them, they're like, play the game, dude. Like, nah, that works, this doesn't. Like, I can watch my favorite streamers and YouTubers on for League. It's like I'm a Cutie Pie and Sneaky because in their thing, people will be like, oh, do you think this build works or that build works or this if this thing's gonna work, is that thing gonna work? And they'll actually go and say, no, that's trash. No, that's good. It's like, and they'll still make kind of jokes, being like, oh, you're in silver. Well, you just got to get good at the game. Well,
That's why I
they're
watch.
not. It's like they're not wrong.
Yeah, that's why I watch Ninja a lot. I love his attitude towards esports and towards the game in general.
And it's like, and a lot of League streamers are like that too. It's like, of course, you get like the TSM guys, like Leffen in terms of Smash, and everybody,
Leffen.
everybody in terms of League, in terms of TSM, they just think that
Leffen is literally just Johns in a person.
and it's like they think that they know everything, and if you don't know how they think, you're stupid and they're smart, and it's like, just quiet. It's like,
Yeah.
and it's like they're intriguing and they're helpful. It's like, honestly, one of the games that I am surprised has one of the most welcoming community is actually StarCraft.
Yeah.
It's like,
I think that actually comes from the fact that the StarCraft community is made up of people who have been with it for a long time, and who it's not made up of people who just want to get into esports for the sake of esports. It's made up of people who love the game. That's
yeah,
part
and
of
it's
why
like,
the Melee community is so great. It's made up of people who just fucking love the game.
it's like I've only played a few multiplayer games in terms of StarCraft, and like me and my buddy played, and we just got wrecked. It's like these guys that we were playing had so many units that like my computer and my buddy's computer were having hard times keeping up with the frame rate with how many things were on the screen at one given moment. And they're like, do you guys even play this very much? And we're like, no, not at all. And they're like, oh, dude, it's like you'll get there, and like they just have these guys running in a like lap for like 20 minutes, and they just started sending us all of these messages as like, at this time frame you want to have this base, at this you want to have this, like, and they were just like completely mellow about it. Like, they didn't care. They were like, we're happy to see like new people willing to come in and play our game.
Yeah.
And it's like, and eventually they actually ended up like just forfeiting and leaving, and they gave us the win because they were like, you guys need it. And it's like, it's not even the fact that you're bad, it's the fact that you just need, like, it's like we don't want to completely stomp you because of the fact that you are new. It's like, we want to teach you so that way there is somebody that might be able to comprehend the mechanics and learn how to play and give us a challenge, compared to everyone who's thinking like, oh no, you can't have a challenge for me, I'm the best, I can't teach you 'cause then you're better than me. And it's like, but that's like, it's a game. It's like it's a game. Pros I can understand in terms of like certain things they wouldn't want to necessarily spill the beans on because it's like they are the top of the top. And it's like, in reality, they don't want to necessarily give away information to people who they play on a daily basis. But it's like when people are like me, if like I were to send them a message and be like, hey, I'm playing blank, this happened, what build path would I pick? They would be like, oh, because you're playing in bronze. It's like, one, play the game a lot. to, it's like, do this, do that. Like, they would actually help the younger people out because they're like, play the game. It's like, enjoy it like we do.
Yeah.
And it's like, those are the kind of players that make you want to play a game. It's like, that's why streamers actually end up bringing more people in, and that's why certain game developers, being Riot, I would feel is one of them. And I could honestly see Nintendo doing it now that they announced their, like, giant esports thing. It's like, they
Yeah.
can easily start to, like, sponsor people and be like, we
Nintendo
want you.
versus, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, we want you to help bring new people into the fold, because it's like, because then you win, we win, they win. It's a good cycle, because the new people can learn. Then the game developer gets more revenue, and then on top of that, the pros get more revenue because they get more revenue, and it's like the cycle that everybody wins. And it's like, don't push them away for the sake of being like, I'm too good to teach you. And it's like, just let people play the game. It's like, maybe those people aren't even going to go competitive. They just want to play the game because it looks freaking fun as heck to play.
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't know why companies are so scared of skill gaps now. And it doesn't even make sense to me, because like,
No.
when you look at the top esports, like the most valuable money fueled esports, it's Dota 2, which is a hard as fuck game. It's League, which is less hard but still very hard.
Like, it's there.
You have Counter-Strike, which is pretty difficult. Like, it's not super hard, but it's definitely not easy. Like, it's a very punishing game. And then you have Overwatch, you have Call of Duty, you have Smash, you have Street Fighter, and then I just have a fucking million gripes with a whole bunch of fighting games right now, because fighting games are also trying to reduce the skill gap, which makes even less sense than multiplayer shooters are.
Skill gaps are the most necessary thing in all fighter games, because they're fighter games.
Yeah, fucking tell that to Capcom.
Well, that's Capcom.
Capcom's exactly. That's Capcom.
Capcom's already in the history.
Look, Capcom is like a horrible company. They don't know what they're doing. They're super out of touch. But you're also the host of Street Fighter. You have to know these things are things that you don't do. Opening one-frame windows and one-frame links in Street Fighter, that's not something you should do. Reducing skill gaps in Street Fighter and introducing elements of randomness to Street Fighter, that is not something you should do. That's why if you talk to pro players, like longtime Street Fighter pro players or just fighting game players in general, they shit all over Street Fighter 5 because it's such a blatant attempt to reduce the skill gap. And it's like, I forget who said it, but it was an interview with some longtime Street Fighter player. But they said that with like in the past, it was really exciting to see someone come up and beat one of the top players because it's fucking difficult to do that. But with Street Fighter 5, upsets happen all the time that they're no longer exciting because there's so much randomness to the game.
Exactly.
Anyone can do what the pros are doing because Street Fighter 5 is easier than other games.
And it's the same thing for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. I was stoked.
MVCI too, yeah.
It's like, I was stoked as heck for the game because, one, it's new. Two, the special edition that I got is actually, like, the fact that the one thing I will say, we can talk smack about Capcom, but I forget who started it, but everyone who's bringing back the fact that you can buy a game and get, like, physical special edition stuff. I love that. I love special editions for those moments.
Yeah, if there's one thing Capcom does, it does really well. It's they go ham with like special editions of stuff.
And I'm not gonna go into the whole Infinity Stone gripe. I don't care about that. I'm saying the statues for Iron Man and Captain Marvel and Mega Man and Chun-Li. It's like, those are nice. Stones are nice, but it's like the entire package in general was nice. But then lo and behold, a few months back, I found out that Infinite, as well as the DLC for Infinite, had like 1/3 the budget of MVC3.
Yeah.
An entire game had 1/3 of the budget of a game from 2012?
11 or 12, yeah.
Yeah, it's like...
Maybe even 10. I don't actually know when that game came out.
No, it's like, I just don't remember getting it when it was brand new, and I was like, this is awesome, because MVC3 was just so good. The roster was big, which...
MVC3 was good, yeah.
In some fighting games, having a big roster is kind of a pain. But it's like, in that game, like, each fighter was different. The story was solid. There was a huge skill gap, and it was brutal. the DLC was great. It's like, and they redid it, and they did, what is it, Ultimate, and they were like, we're gonna
Yeah,
add Hawkeye.
Ultimate
We're
MVC3, I think is the
it's
it's
the
obviously
pinnacle.
the superior version, but yeah.
Yeah, it's like, but at the same time, like they went ham. It's like
Hmm.
we're adding Hawkeye, we're adding Ghost Rider, we're adding like all of these crazy things, and it's like the roster in MVCI was great. Like it was really good for like it being a little more condensed, and they took out the 3-man teams. But at the same time, it's like it's casual. It's like it's to the point where like I just saw on Game Informer apparently for like I think it might have been Evo or it could have been Genesis or like one of the upcoming fighting tournaments. MVCI isn't even going to be a part of it because the
Evo,
guys who
yeah.
are yeah because the guys who are in charge are like no one plays it
Yeah, there's not going to be
because they're
MVC
like
at Evo.
because they're like the third one will probably be there and MVC2 will be there. It's like the old ones will stick, but the newer one they're like no one plays it because it's like you said the all of these
It
things like,
had
get
all the
tweaked.
problems that Street Fighter V had are
Exactly.
also in MVCI.
Exactly. And it's like, and it pains my soul because it's like I played the snot out of MVC2 and MVC3, and I never
I
got
love
good at it.
MVC2.
It's like I never necessarily got good at the game, but I was like I enjoyed it because it's like my buddies and I could sit there and we were like we could just stomp each other, and then out of nowhere one person would figure out this crazy mad combo, and we're like oh, and we lose it, and it's like now in MVCI I can play with my buddies, and it's just like it takes nothing to be like well, Dante just went on a complete ham spree and just wrecked everybody. Why? Because he's Dante. That's
Yeah.
lame. But it's like in MVC3, it's like I could play Dante and Dante was still good. But it's like maybe some guy as Wolverine can just show up and wreck my butt because he just played. He knows the character better than me.
Dude, I love MVC2 Wolverine was my shit.
It's like and it's like there are always going to be those characters in a game where it's going to be OP as heck, which in MVC cases it was Dante all day because his
Fox McCloud.
Fox and Smash, and it's like everybody wants to play him, but it's like at the same time, even with Fox in Smash, he's still in his entire other tier. But you've seen upsets with him, like people can spank him because
Yeah, no,
it's
absolutely.
like it's like
Fox
it's like
Melee
Hungry
Fox
Box.
Melee Fox is fucking broken, but that doesn't mean that you're automatically going to win if you use him.
Exactly.
He's
It's
gonna
like,
give you a crutch if you know basic things with Fox, but
mhm.
still, it doesn't mean that you're going to win.
It's like you were saying in terms
Just
of
because
all
the
like
character is
stat.
capable of more doesn't mean that the player is automatically better.
No, and like you were saying with Hungry Box, it's like everybody ends up playing Fox against Hungry Box because it's like stat wise, him and Fox and Puff, it's like
Fox Puff
obviously
is a super bad matchup for Puff.
Puff,
Yeah,
but at the same time, it's like you and I have watched freaking matches where he just spanks people
yeah,
because he's better, because he has that skill that they are just like son of a bitch. It's like I can't even, but it's like, and those are the moments where you're like, dang, dude, like Puff is kind of cool, but it's like. But picking up Puff doesn't mean that you can instantly pick up and fight Hungry Box. Hungry Box will wreck you.
yeah. There's also I mean, everything you just said, but then at the same time, there's a reason why Hungrybox is like the only top level Jigglypuff in Melee.
Exactly.
You
And
can't
it's
just
like,
pick up the character and be good with it.
no, and it's like in MVCI, it's like Dante was that way. You didn't have to do anything. Basically, you could take a button and mash like the 4 buttons that you do attacks and like roll around the movement thing, and eventually he'll start like flying around and there's fire everywhere and there's guns going off and he's pulling out shotguns and swords and all. It's like you didn't even do anything and you won.
Yeah, that's also like in vanilla MVC3. That's how the Sentinels were.
Sentinels were gross.
Sentinels were like actually broken.
It's like their range was absolutely filthy. You could sit there and like just spam one punch and it goes across the map and then you can't do anything.
Yeah, and
But it's
I
like
think, you know, this obviously has nothing to do with like what we were talking about. These are all just like us reliving
because
memories of old games.
yeah,
But like, I think the point is just that there's a reason why really broken fighting characters stand out, and that's because fighting games are supposed to be the epitome of like one-on-one, we are fighting each other, this is skill versus skill in video games.
and
There's
not
a
just
reason why like there's so many stereotypes about fighting game players. and like the insane button combos and memorization and like inputs per second and like Adderall jokes that happen in the fighting game community. It's because that's what fighting games are. And that's why it makes me so upset when Capcom is trying to reduce the skill gap when the skill gap is what defines the fighting game genre. That's the
Hmm.
whole point.
You gotta earn it. You gotta put the time in. It's like, honestly, I'm not a huge fan of Imagine Dragons, but there's a song that I'll always go back to, and it's the song Warriors, and it was made by Riot and Imagine Dragons, and there's a line in it that just said, when everybody else was there to play, I was there to, like, work. It's like, instead of actually just playing the game casually, it's like, if you put the time into it, be it any game, it doesn't have to be League, doesn't have to be Street Fighter, doesn't have to be Smash, doesn't have to be anything, but it's like, if you put the time in, you actually treat it with the respect that it is needed because it's there, obviously you get better at it. But
Mm-hmm.
instead of having that be like a mantra, which I wish a lot of people would have, is like, if you play, if you work at it, if you treat it like at that point with the pros, like it's a job, it's their job. They get paid to play. So they can't just treat it casually all the time. They have to put it down and be like, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to completely play against the hardest things possible and see if I can keep up with it. And eventually they might lose. But at the same time, in that loss, they look at it and go and say, what can I do better? Instead of just saying, oh, well, that's just BS, like most casual players would do.
Yeah. That's something that's frustrating me with Call of Duty now, too. You see it in the map design. Call of Duty has gotten so fucking casual, and
Oh, you
Call of Duty has not like ever been really high level unless you go back to like COD 4.
God 4 and God Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah, COD 4 and
Oh,
Modern
so
Warfare
good.
2. Yeah, COD 4
So
and Modern
good.
Warfare 2 were actually like very competitive games. You had to get good at those games. But you see, COD World War 2 is so boring to me for the two main reasons being one, it's easy as hell, and two, the maps all feel the same. Like I know it's like a meme with shooters that like 3 lane maps, like every game has 3 lane maps, which is true, but I mean that's not a bad thing.
No.
It's only a bad thing when you start to realize it. It's only a bad thing when, after playing a map like twice, I already have the layout memorized. That was my biggest
Hmm.
problem with COD World War II and why that game wore thin to me so quickly is because all of the maps felt the same. I played a
Yep.
map twice and I already knew where everything was. Where you go back to like Modern Warfare 2 or COD 4 or Black Ops or World at War and there's all these different paths to take, and even though the maps are 3 lanes, they don't feel 3 lanes. There's a lot of different ways to get between those lanes. But with
It's
COD
like
World War 2 and Infinite Warfare and Black Ops 3, you play the maps once or twice and you have them memorized immediately because
it's like
there's no deviation from the 3 lanes. Activision and Call of Duty, they don't want you to think. They
it's
want
what you
you to
play.
feel like a badass who knows the secrets immediately so you'll keep playing and buy fucking supply drops.
It's like what map is it? The it's I want to say it's Modern Warfare 2. It could be 3, but it's like it's all indoors, and then there's like a little spot with like a playground, and on the other side it's a delivery end of like
Skid Row.
it's like that map.
Skid Row
It's like
Modern Warfare 2, yeah.
it's like it has like certain elements of 3 lanes, but they also put like 3 lanes going one way, and they put like 4 lanes on top of it. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
you have the hallway with like the rooms, and then at the very end of the hallway, there's a staircase that goes down underneath the buildings. You have the pathway, which is like an alley that takes you around the buildings into the parking, like the park area, and it's like all of these lanes are there. So it's like in the hallway, that is the most tense shotgun assault rifle firefights I can remember. Like I remember going ham in those things and getting like Harriers and almost getting like AC-130s like almost every time I went in. But then at the same time, it's like if I didn't want to go that way, it's like I'm gonna loop around and I'm gonna try to flank them
Mm-hmm.
instead of World War II where
It's
um
literally just you know where everyone is going to be at all
it's
times.
yeah it's
Because
like
the maps are so basic that you can predict enemy movements off of just knowing where the lanes are.
and it's like and even then each map it's like I want to say in Skid Row, it's like you had the corner, like the idea of like you can go around the edge
Mm-hmm.
and go around the entire map around the edge. But at the
Yeah.
same time, in that element of going around the edge, it's like you have these really, really tight corners in the edges where it's like when you get there, you're like, dude, I can get blasted with a shotgun. I could get sniped across the way. Who knows? But then in
I'll
World War II, it's just like sniper there, sniper there, sniper. Like some team could literally just put like four snipers in one corner and sit there, and
and they do.
and they win. And they win because you have such long sight lines in almost every single World War II map. Or you just have people who do the same mechanic but with shotguns because you have such short sight lines in that area. So
I'll
it's like,
always go back to a map. I'll always go back to Vacant from COD 4, which
oh,
is one of my
Vacant.
favorite maps of all time. It
Oh,
is the
Vacant,
perfect
so
example
good.
of how to do a 3-lane map that does not feel like a 3-lane map.
Mm-mm.
Because you have the middle lane, which is where B flag and domination is, and you have the whole indoor side. Then you have the right lane, which is on the outside by the cars outdoors, and then you have the left side, which was like on the little courtyard, and you have like that part with all the little containers on the left side that goes into the other dom flag. And then in between those, you have all the hallways, you have the really tight corners, you have the really tight corridors that SMG and shotgun players would go through, and it's the perfect example of a 3-lane map that does not feel like a 3-lane map because you have so much variety and you have so many possible routes to take.
Mm-hmm.
And
So if you wanna,
I also
hmm,
like to cite firing range from Black Ops 1 for the same reasons. It's totally a 3-lane map, and it has super wide, like super long sight lines, like you were saying, and
mhm,
really like a lot of really long sight lines, a lot of really tight corners, but it doesn't feel that way because the
mhm,
map it has variety. That's the problem with modern Call of Duty maps is just everything is so straightforward 3 lanes, and it's garbage. It's so garbage. And it's the reason why people don't like COD anymore. It's because you know what to expect before you even play the game. And even the pros are speaking out about it now, you
yeah,
know? One of my favorite things was just looking at what pro players were saying about Infinite Warfare and just shitting on it. They were like, "Guys, this is not fun." I forget it's an interview with a pro player. I forget who it was, but they said Activision thought that adding all this movement and extra mechanics and extra abilities would make the game more fun, and it just didn't.
it's that's like what map did they bring back? They brought a map in Infinite War or Advanced Warfare. Oh gosh, what was it? I could think of it too in
Oh,
one.
they brought back a COD 4 map. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like you have
Pipeline. It was
yeah,
Pipeline.
and it's like you start on the high ground, and then at the very bottom you have the low ground. You have these two buildings, and it's
Yeah.
like I remember in COD 4, it's like if you got into one of those buildings with an M21 or any sniper rifle, you could post it. You could
Yeah.
be unfreaking stoppable
If you
in
got
that
on the
area.
roof with the
If
sniper, yeah.
if you could get there though, getting there was a chore. Like you had to beeline it, and you had to hope that no one saw you. But it's
Yeah.
like the moment that they put that in Advanced Warfare, it just completely just went bleh.
It
because
broke the map because
because
anyone
it's
could
like
get up there
exactly
immediately.
it took no time. It's like jump on the wall, dash dash. Oh, look at that! So some guy with a sniper rifle. Guess what I have? An M10. Like in the face shotgun. I win. But it's like in World War 4, it's like you got up there, you were like, oh dude, this is gonna be a chore. It's like you could get into gunfights again.
Yeah,
Because
it's
it took skill to get there. It took skill to get him out of there. Instead of just saying, well, time to go jump on the wall real fast with my shotgun and end this guy.
yeah.
Because casual.
And
Because
what sucks the most, what's I and like what sucks the most about Infinite Warfare, I feel like, is that Infinity War didn't know if they wanted to go all out in their own direction, and they tried at first. They tried to do that. In the first couple months of Infinite Warfare, I actually played it a lot because it was fun. It did not feel like a Call of Duty game. But then
hmm
people complained that it didn't feel like a Call of Duty game and that everyone hated it. So then they started updating the game like crazy to try and bring all the Call of Duty MLG Pros back, and they just fucking ruin the game. And that's what makes Infinite Warfare so tragic to me, is that after the reveal trailer dropped and it got like 3.5 million dislikes and everyone hated it, everyone had preconceived notions about it. Everyone was just like, this
It's
game's
gonna
gonna
suck.
suck. Everyone's
It's
going to
Halo.
hate this game. It's fucking terrible. I already hate it. And Infinity War was like, no, just play our game, please. It's not bad. And I did play it, and I was like, you know what? It's not bad. It's not great, but it's, it's original. It's fun. I like it. It's like
It's
it's
an
basically
original
just
IP amidst an IP that's not original.
it's basically Titanfall 2 with smaller maps, and I mean, I'll take it. It's fun, sure.
And no giant robots. Cool.
And no giant robots. I'll take it. But then Infinity Ward gave in to everyone complaining, and they started trying to update it, and then the game became what everyone thought it was going to be, like a month and a half, 2 months after it came out. And that's what makes it so sad to me. Because, like, everyone said this game was going to suck. It didn't suck, but then it did
you
suck.
made it. But then you made
You
it.
made,
suck.
you started off on the right foot, but then you made it what everyone thought it was going to be.
It's like there are certain game devs who are already bad enough where it's like crowd feedback can make it a better game. Then you have those people who actually do know what they're doing and do make original things and do make fun things, but then everybody else doesn't want to follow their pathing, even though it is, like you said, it was fun, it was original, it was new. But then out of nowhere, lo and behold, everyone says, no, I don't like the new and original. I like the same. I
Yeah.
like the old. But then
Well, it's
the
like-
old is also
To
terrible.
clarify, I don't think Infinite Warfare was original or new, but what I mean by that was just it did not feel like a Call of Duty game
Well,
at all,
but
and I liked
but
it for that. It felt
yeah.
like Black Ops 3, but with faster movement and smaller maps. And as someone
and-
who loved Black Ops 3, I liked that a lot.
And that's what I mean by original. Like like you said, like to an extent, it was.
Yeah,
It's like
it's relative,
Yeah, and it's like if that were to be the case, that's like certain developers just need to hold on to their ways and be like, you know what? No, we're gonna make it. We think it's good. We think it's this. You don't like it? Too bad. Don't buy it.
But that's the
Simple as
problem.
that.
That's what happens when you try to make a game that appeases the most cancerous community ever.
Mm-hmm.
As you have the community pulling you in so many different ways, and you have so many in the community who hate the game no matter what. Which, why are you playing it if you just want to complain about everything?
Because everyone complains because that's fun and that's in fashion.
Being a cynical asshole is in fashion, and I
It
say
is.
that with a little self-awareness, but
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
like it's true though. It is. It's like there are so many people that just want to make everything terrible for the sake of them being able to say that it's terrible.
They want to just get behind a anonymous Twitter profile and just tweet garbage at people, and have either an anime picture or a video game cover as their profile picture, as
Yeah.
they spout garbage.
And it's like, it just let. It's like at that point, I'm just like, why don't you just let the guys who actually know what they're doing do what they're doing? It's like
Unless it's
if-
Sledgehammer, because then they don't know what they're doing,
This
and
is
they
true.
should stop.
But like you said too, it's like you've actually kind of like in the past you said it's actually gotten kind of good with the changing of the heads.
Yeah, COD World War II has gotten better, but I mean, the core of the game is still flawed.
For sure.
The maps
it's
are
like-
still awful.
Yeah.
The spawns still need a complete redesign, and the game still has no variety. But like there's only so much.
The
you
minor
can-
things.
There's only so much you can dress up a piece of shit. But
Before-
like it
you
has.
can dress
They
it up
are
any way
trying.
you want,
they
but
are
it still
dressing
is.
it up. It is a little less shit resembling now.
But
I
it's
will
still
admit that.
That.
When COD World War II came out, it was a piece of shit, and now it's less of a piece of shit. Good on you guys.
It's
But
still
the
that,
problem
now it has
is
a
that the
2-2 on
game
it.
itself is still shitty. They've fixed up everything around the game. They've fixed up the gunplay and the balancing and the connection issues and the bugs and all the bad UI decisions. But the core of the game, the maps, the game modes, the way the objectives work and are placed, those are still flawed. So credit where credit is due. You have fixed the game to a certain degree, but the game at its core is still a piece of shit.
So exactly, it's like you can, what it is what it is. But now you just put it with like a little more bells and whistles, but it's still what it is.
It's a piece of shit, and you put some frosting on it.
There you
You
go.
tried. Maybe I'll pick the frosting off for a little bit, but after a while, it's going to be down to the shit again.
So, but it's like I want to say we talked about it too, where it's like it's not even just that the esports scene is the way that it is in terms of casual play, but everything is casual. It's like, and
Everything
obviously,
is casual, dude. It's
and
the
it's like
rise. It's the rise of esports that makes everyone want to be a pro, and the devs want to, help people. They want to bank and market off of the fact that everyone wants to be a pro, so they make their game as beginner friendly as possible, and in doing so, they break the game.
mm-hmm.
There's
And it's
that,
like
and then there's also the rise. I really do think it has to do with the rise of mobile gaming. That games are becoming more and more casual because
everyone can
mobile
pick it.
gaming is all casual, and it's
There's no
it's
such
it's
thing
successful as fuck.
for sure. And it's like what is it? I know we've talked about it too. It's like there are these games that are tough as nails and absolutely ball busting. And it's like they're out there and they have great communities, but even those communities are terrible. It's like the Dark Souls community and like Cuphead, like where those games do push you to be better, but at the same time nobody wants you to be like, you know what? I'm gonna show you the way. It's like I'm going to teach you how to do such a thing. It's still like get good, do better. Why don't you suck? And it's like
Yeah, the
'cause
Dark Souls community is pretty bad.
and it's like so it's not even that it's all single player. It's like or all multiplayer. It's like single player is there too, but then you like they still also have that moment in single player where it is far easier than other things. So it's not even like the casual element of multiplayer is also bleeding into single player, and then the moments that have single player and being brutal, people still be like, well, I'm better than you because I can beat this boss in Dark Souls. Cool,
I
dude.
think I think the casualness of single player games isn't something that's going to stick.
I hope
Especially
not.
after the success of Cuphead. Games like Cuphead, Super Meat Boy, just really,
Those
really difficult single player games. And
brutal.
also just the backlash that Ubisoft gets constantly when they put out the same sandbox game over and fucking over again, just with different paint jobs. I do
Assassin's
think
Creed.
that I do think the casualness of single player games is, I think those days are numbered, but the casualness of multiplayer games, that's,
It's never gonna
I'm
stop.
worried. I'm worried, dude. I
Like
don't think it's gonna go anywhere for a while,
it's not until
and I still don't
developers figure it
understand
out.
I still don't understand what the point of it all is.
No,
Because, like I said, the top esports in the world, except for COD, are very skill dependent.
but then all the skilled players are now trying to go back to the games that have skill.
Yeah,
Ah,
I guess
man.
I just don't understand why so many companies are putting out games when like trying to reduce the skill gap as much as possible when the biggest esports in the world, Dota, League, CS:GO, all those fighting games,
Oh,
they are skill
Overwatch now.
dependent. Oh, and Overwatch, yeah.
Overwatch got big real quick.
Yeah.
But it's like it hurts my soul sometimes because I'm like I remember playing like Ocarina of Time was so good, but at the same time it took some skill. Like these N64 games took skill and took time and took effort, and same like multiplayer too. It's like Halo 2 was the forerunner legitimately both in the game and in gaming as the very first big multiplayer like thing. Halo 2, like that was Xbox Live to its core.
Yeah.
And like
And
you
then
said,
even Halo 3.
yeah, it's like in Halo 2, there was that huge thing of all these people trying to keep it alive for as long as they did.
Mm-hmm.
And but at the same time, earlier, like you said, Halo 2 was gunfights galore. You try to assassinate somebody, good, you did it, you win. But the moment you mess up and you miss a shot, you're prepared to run like a bitch.
Yeah, Halo 2 is hard, and that's the point.
And it's like, so I kind of was happy when the multiplayer scene showed up because I'm like, it took skill. There was that gap. There was this little special magic sauce that players needed to get to do what they do. While now they're saying, you know what, we're just going to take that mechanic out because so many people are saying that it's bad, when in reality it's not bad. It's just the fact that
It's just
playing
they're
from they're playing from 7 at night to 9 at night when they're working an 8-hour job because they're adults,
hmm
and their kids are 9 and 10 playing an M-rated game and are complaining all the time.